Hello, my name is Mark, and some of you might have seen my review of Chinese ATVs. One of the other things I like to do is a lot of outdoor stuff, so I'm going to talk to you about some of the trouble I went through fixing my tent trailer and some of the things to watch for if you go to purchase your own and how to make repairs on the roof. This is a Starcraft. It's a 1990 Constellation. It is a good trailer, but of course I made a lot of mistakes when I bought it used, and I'm hoping that you don't avoid those mistakes, or if you do buy it, that you know how to make these repairs, because I searched the web for months to try and learn how to make these repairs, and there was nothing on how to fix this properly. It was just a lot of trial and error. I'm going to try and save you a lot of money and help you make those repairs. Now I'm going to grab the camera from my son here and show you a little bit about what I used. Okay, as you can see, this is my Starcraft Constellation trailer. I'm going to pan back a little bit here so you can see it. I apologize that it's dark, but the heat in Arizona is so hot you can't really film this stuff in the summer. Alright, well, that roof was my big problem, as you can see right up there. And the problem I had with it was, of course, the people that had before it didn't take very good care of it, so it had leaks in it that had affected the interior. I'm going to show you some of the things I had to do on the roof first. So we'll head up here. Okay, so you can see from the top it's an aluminum roof. And you can see that it has a seam going down the center. This is an aluminum roof. It's 2 sheets of aluminum going down, and that seam in the center is what seals the center. It has a skylight in the center, which I've put a cover over, and I've also added this antenna so I can get TV channels when I'm in an area that, of course, is compatible. That seam in the roof was one of the sources of the leaks. The other source of the leak was the skylight, in which, of course, they did no repairs on, and I'll go over the damage it did. It also actually caused almost a 2-inch sag in the center of the trailer, maybe 1.5 inches, and I'll go over how I did a repair on that with you as well. Alright, first of all, some of the materials you're going to need to do this roof repair is you're going to need this sealing tape here, and it's actually not a tape, it's a caulk. And you can see that that there right there is the caulk that you lay down, so you take off those trim pieces, lay that caulk down, and then put your trim on top. One of the recommendations they did from the RV store when they did this is they told me to make sure I keep that trim, this caulk, refrigerated before I use it, because it's very hard to use when hot. This Dicor is what I use to seal up the roof. It's a great product, a little expensive. Of course, I ended up using over a gallon for that roof. Yeah, you put it on, and I find it best to squeegee it over as opposed to using a roller. You just take a squeegee, move it around, and then you use a roller on the edges, of course, where it would drip if you had to. It's a good sealing material. If you have little pinholes or something like that in the aluminum, it'll take care of it and seal it right up. Alright, let's go in the tent trailer, and I'm getting ready for camping, so as you can see, it is a little bit of a mess right now. Alright, this whole roof was damaged. It actually had to be repaired. I'll go over to the side where I have a little more light here. I actually had to tear out this whole roof. What it is it's that aluminum. It's a layer of styrofoam, and then it was a layer of Luan with a layer of what appeared to be a wallpaper-like surface. And because I didn't feel like taking this whole top off, tipping it upside down, and making the repairs with a single sheet of Luan, what I ended up doing to the interior was I ended up tearing apart the Luan that didn't, the Luan that was coming apart, which turned out to be most of it. Tearing all that out, I had to tear apart all this wiring, of course, that was holding the lights and the other surfaces in place. You can see I added some cigarette light adapters for power as well, using that existing wiring. So, what I had to do was tear out all that. Anything that was loose had to come and had to go. And then what I did is I made panels. These are 18-inch wide panels, as you can see the seam here and here. They're 18-inch wide panels, which I wallpapered each panel individually. And I started at one end and worked my way over. Of course, leaving holes in whatever I needed to for the wiring. Wallpapered them all individually and put them in place. And how I put them in place was I adhered it, of course, to the surface of the trailer, the upper styrofoam and the Luan that was left that wouldn't come out without ripping the styrofoam apart, with Gorilla Glue. And how I did that is I made a stand using the lower part of the trailer, and I held the piece in place with the Gorilla Glue, which, by the way, follow the instructions very closely with Gorilla Glue because it reacts with water. Lowered the camp trailer down with the brace, and I used that to push against my panels and held each panel in place for 2 to 3 hours to allow the panel to go in place and to hold well with the Luan. Now, to get rid of the sag was a different story. As you can see, all new tent trailers have them. Old ones like this don't. I had to make a beam for the center. I made a beam and 2 brackets. Now, the brackets were held in place here on the sides, which I used stainless steel bolts for from the outside. I made a bracket, held it in, and then I used this bolt here to put tension against the bracket. So inside this, I put some nuts and some braces. I welded in there so that this bolt has something to go through to add tension in. And so this little L bracket right here that comes out has another piece of steel that comes out here into this, and then it's tightened up against it by the bolt pushing up against the upper chunk of the steel. This bracket was necessary, and it's steel, as you can see. Aluminum would work just as well. It's painted steel, and that took care of all the sag. That smoke detector, as you can see, is just an add-on I threw in. This Skylight was another source of the leak. I ended up completely taking that out, putting in a new Skylight, which I picked up at eBay for about $44, and it's a welcome improvement because I had the Skylight, of course, which you can open up here, which now I can keep open during storage because I have that cover on top, which was purchased at Campers World for $20. Skylight purchased for $40, and then I had the option of putting this in, which adds more lighting to the interior. So I have the light down the end, which doesn't look too bright because there's LED bulbs in there. I'm giving that a try. The center light and the end light, all of which had to be replaced. All the wiring and fittings were rotted on all of them. So, and I added in those roof cigarette light adapters, which you can kind of see on both ends. You can't kind of see on the LED light end. So, long story short is, if you have a Starcraft tent trailer or any camper with an aluminum roof, it is quite a project to redo, but can easily be redone just by simply using Luan, wallpaper, Gorilla Glue, die-core roof coating to coat the roof. Of course, you got to take off all those edges and reseal them properly, and you can have a wonderful roof. You would never know that this roof was almost, on especially this end that I'm pointing to right now, completely rotten. The interior had some mold damage in it. All the wood was rotten, all the wiring was rotten, and of course there was a sag in it, but you'd never know from looking at it now because all that had been repaired. Now again, a lot of trial and error. The only thing I will say that's still a mistake in this is that wallpaper is unfortunately a paper-based. What I would recommend is a vinyl-based wallpaper, and putting that on, because that will hold up stronger against the moisture. Living in Arizona, for the most part, if you store it and take care of the roof, which you should constantly inspect annually, you shouldn't have any of these problems. Alright, so these are my recommendations. Feel free to add comments or email me to my YouTube page. This is of course an account for both me and my son, so you're going to see some Star Wars stuff on it as well. Alright, if you have any, again, questions, concerns, anything you think I can help you with, hey, a little bit of Luan, which is a low-grade plywood, some wallpaper, a little bit of steel, and a little bit of hard work, and you'll have a great roof to your trailer. I have to admit, this is a pretty common problem with these, and you'll see that I managed to salvage everything else. Some of that trim, which is of course pink, you can tell retro from the 90s, had to be removed, and I used the remaining to make little valances left. But you have yourself a great day, and again, any questions or concerns about how to repair your Starcraft or any tent trailer with an aluminum roof, feel free to comment on, and we can go over and I can give you some hints and let you learn from my experience so you don't make those same mistakes. Take care and have a great night.